Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teacher's English Language GCSE. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through the Edexcel English Language Paper 2. Going to look at both Section A and Section B very briefly. Just want you to see what the paper looks like and just remind you of what you have to do for each question. If you want more detail than that, actual exam technique, then do have a little look at my playlist for the Edexcel series, because there's plenty there on tackling question 3, question 6, 7A, 7B, and loads of stuff on transactional writing. But for now, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to imagine that it is the real deal and you're sat in your exam hall and you've got these two things in front of you, your answer booklet and your reading text insert. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're just going to have, take a deep breath, and then you're going to think about your process. Now, I like to refer to this process lovingly as the PQR, which some of you will know already, which basically means preview, question, read, respond, and review. So this is the process that I'm going to go through. So I'm going to start off with my preview. Now I'm going to do this twice over. I'm going to do it for the section, for the first text, and then for the second. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my reading insert like so. And I'm just going to have a little look. Now, when I'm doing a preview, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to read this. Okay, this is the bit that I'm going to look at first. So, extract from Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell, 1933. And so then I might think to myself, hang on a minute, I recognise that name, George Orwell, what do I know about him? Animal Farm, 1984. If you didn't know that, doesn't matter, doesn't matter at all, but it sets it in some context. Now I'm going to read on. In this edited extract from a memoir of his time, living in poverty in Paris and London, George Orwell describes when most of his money is stolen from his lodgings in Paris. He is left with only 47 francs, French money, to live on, and he explains how people can live in the city spending just 6 francs a day. So I'm immediately, when I look at this blurb, thinking to myself, right, it's a memoir, that's like an autobiography or like a kind of diary. It's meant for being published. So I'm going to expect it to be in the first person. I'm going to expect it to be in the past tense. Then what I'm going to do, still part of the preview, is I'm just going to look at it. I'm literally just looking. I'm going, oh, right, there's some words that I might need to just double check. Little glossary there. I'm going to notice that we've got quite a big paragraph here and everything else is quite small. I'm just sort of getting my head around it. So that's my preview done. Then I'm going to look at what my questions are. So I'm going to get my booklet in front of me, and I'm going to start by having a little look at questions 1 and 2. So from lines 1 to 4, identify 2 feelings the writer has about poverty. And then this is the new format. You'll notice, sorry, I've had to stick it in. The new format of these papers means that rather than giving you line numbers, they actually just give you a little extract rather than saying from lines 8 to 16. Give 2 things the person in the extract is unable to do because of his situation. Use your own words or quotations from the text. And then I'm even going to have a look at question 3. Analyse how the writer uses language and structure to interest and engage the reader, writing about features and techniques, language features, techniques, structure, and the effect on the reader. Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. But I know what I'm looking for now in my read through. So I'm going to get my page again, and I'm going to mark out lines 1 to 4 for question 1. I don't need to mark out the rest because this little extract has been given to me, and whole text structure is everything. And then I'm going to just have a little bit of a read through. Now I'm not going to do all of that with you now because this is just a walk and talk, but I'm certainly just going to figure out what my answers are. So it's altogether curious, your first contact with poverty, and I'm like, oh right, okay, there we go, I've got my first answer, curious. So I'm just going to go and put that in. Okay, you have thought so much about poverty, it's a thing you feared all of your life. Oh, okay, right, feared. So I'm going to write fearful. Okay, so notice how I literally did that in a matter of moments before I'd even kind of got going. Now, if the line numbers had been much further down, then obviously I would have read through. Okay, so then what I'm doing is I'm reading through for the first time, I'm reading the whole thing, and you know, even though I've been given the extract here, I'm still going to read it all the way through because I want to see it in its sort of like context. Once I've had my first read through, then I might go to my question 2, and I'm just going to quickly write, give 2 things the person in the extract is unable to do because of a situation. You may use your own words or quotations from the text. Okay, so literally I found one within the first sentence. You stop sending clothes to the laundry, so you can't use the laundry. Yeah, so that's my first point. The laundry worker catches you in the street and asks you why. You mumble something. She thinks you're sending the clothes elsewhere as your enemy for life. The tobacconist keeps asking why you have cut down your smoking. So you can't smoke as much. It's quite a good thing, really, isn't it? Yeah. And so, for example, you can't get the same food that you want. You can't send letters anymore. So you've got lots and lots of options there that you can use. But do you notice how I managed to get through these sort of 2 questions, and I've got full marks already very, very quickly? Now that's quite important, because one of the things to be aware of, unless you've got extra time for any reason, you should really be working this out as about a minute per mark. Okay, now question 3 here, this is a biggie. This one is a 15 marker. So that means that once you've figured out what you're writing, you know, you've only got about 15 minutes to write up your response. So I just want to talk you through how I would approach this. Now, sometimes when you see bullet points like this, you could accidentally go, all right, I'll do a paragraph on language features. I'll do a paragraph on structural techniques. I'll do a paragraph on the effect of the reader, 1 for each bullet point. Don't do that. Okay, really what you want to be aiming for is to include all of these things in each paragraph you write, and the best way to do it is like this. So start off by asking yourself, how does it begin? Where does it change? How does it end? Okay, and if you can actually come up with some sensible responses, focusing on how does it begin, and obviously why is it engaging, where does it change, and then how does it end, and then you do sentence level and language feature analysis in each of these paragraphs, then you're going to be hitting whole text structure as well as sentence level and language features. Okay, so the thing that you might say, for example, how does it open? Well, it opens with direct address. It addresses the reader directly. You have thought so much about poverty. It is the thing you feared all of your life, the thing you knew would happen to you sooner or later, and it is also utterly different. So, for example, I would start with something along the lines of, the writer uses direct address in the opening of the extract to interest and engage the reader. For example, he says, you have thought so much about poverty, it's the thing you feared all of your life, the thing you knew would happen to you sooner or later. And then I'd probably draw attention to the emotive language of feared. I might look at the repetition of the thing, again suggesting it's this sort of huge kind of emotive idea that there's a sort of almost sense of inevitability about it. So there would be my paragraph for how does it open. And then I do the same for where is there a change, and then how does it end. So the idea is that what you're doing is you're ticking all of these off in every paragraph you write. You've got 15 minutes, so you're probably only going to get 3 to 4 short paragraphs done. Okay, and then you really at that point need to move yourself on. Okay, but once that's done, that's one text over. Okay, so before we move on to questions 4, 5 and 6, you would then just quickly, we go back to, we go back to our parcours. We've previewed, we've questioned, we've read, we've now responded, and we're going to make sure that we've reviewed. Actually, it is better to review as you go. If you can actually say to yourself, I'm going to write my first paragraph for question 3, and then I'm going to quickly check over it and make sure I'm using critical terminology, my topic sentence is nice and clear, it's attached to whole text structure, I've analysed my quote, you know, I've done all of those things, then you're more likely to do it right as you go. But assuming we've now done all of that, we're going to move forward. We're going to get ourselves ready for question 4 to 6. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into our reading booklet, and we're going to find text 2, and we're going to preview. Okay, so we're going to start with blurb. Extract from Channel 4's Dispatches uncovers the hidden reality of the working homeless by Dacian Navanayagam. Sorry, probably didn't pronounce that very well at all. This edited extract is from an article about the working homeless. So again, immediately we're going, right, this is an article. It's focusing on Channel 4's Dispatches, so a documentary. And then again, I'm just going to have a little look through it. I'm going to notice, so very much like features of an article, much shorter paragraphs. I can immediately see that we're dealing with first person, and I'm going to notice that it does go on to the other page. Very, very important. And again, we've just got some explanations. So I've done my preview, right? So now I'm just going to have a quick look at my questions. So from lines 7 to 10, identify one feature of the place where the writer lived. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work out 7 to 10 so that when I do my read through, I know where I'm going. I'm aware that we've got this little extract here, and we're focusing on one feeling the writer had when she lived in hotels. And sorry about all of the moving of the camera. Question 6, we have got in this extract, the writer attempts to show the negative impact of homelessness. Evaluate how successfully this is achieved. Okay, right, so now I'm ready to get reading. I'm going to just turn back the page for my question 4 and 5, and I'm going to start reading. Again, I'm not going to do this out loud because it's going to take too long. But so I'm reading. I might be starting to analyse as I go, but I might also, to be fair, just be doing like my first read through. And then I'm going to get to my question 4 response. So we moved into temporary accommodation for a couple of years before being placed in a housing association. Because my dad was disabled, we were given a downfall flat, but it used to flood with raw sewage a few times a year, and we had damp and mould. Okay, one feature of the places the writer lived. You've got loads of things there that you can talk about. But you could literally get a mark for that. It's damp. Yeah? So you don't need to write a big full sentence. You know, you could say damp, you could say mold. But what's really important is that you don't just put in the whole kind of sentence. You know, just identify the kind of the least words that you can do it. So you could say it floods with raw sewage, damp and mold. All of those things would work. Okay. Now we'll just quickly have a little look at question 5. Identify one feeling the writer had when she lived in hotels. So again, notice there's no analysis. It's just looking for information. You don't have to explain. By then I was working and my sister had graduated and got a job, yet we were homeless in 2013 for 18 months, placed in a series of hotels, often with no laundry, no Wi-Fi, no fridge, for a couple of times a week before being moved on. It's exhausting and expensive not having a permanent space, so it's hard to focus on your job. Exhausting. There we go. If you think about the whole kind of concept of a minute per mark, you can get these answers in potentially less than a minute. I say potentially because you don't want to rush. You want to make sure that you are answering the question properly. Okay, now we're back to the biggie. Okay, so we know that we are doing an evaluation question here, and we know that we need to have detailed references to the text, and we know that the focus is on the negative impact of homelessness. So when you're going through the extract and trying to find examples, you've got to make sure that it is based on the negative impact of homelessness. So the idea, for example, that she was only 11 years old when she lost their home, that's a really kind of sobering personal experience. The fact that she's so young suggests that, you know, of course there's going to be some sort of trauma from that. So you're going to work your way through basically finding your evidence, okay, that demonstrates how awful it is. being made homeless. So you're going to perhaps look at the personal experience. You might look at setting here as well, here and here. You might then move on to how it changes, where she starts looking at the impact of homelessness with working people, etc., etc. So as you're reading through, you're just going to be finding the most important bits. Now, with this part of the paper, this is where you've got a few little kind of guidance moments to help you out. So, for example, you can use spite. In fact, you might even, just at the top of the page, write yourself down spite. So I shouldn't have done it there. Write yourself down spite as a reminder. You might also remind yourself of how you're going to write your paragraphs, which is judgment, evidence, justification. If you want more info on using spite, then do have a little look at my videos in the playlist, because I've got like specific video for doing the evaluation in these ones. What this is doing is it's just trying to help you get like a range of ideas, like a range of points to work through. But the most important thing is that you are being evaluative. So you might start with something like, the writer successfully, so there's my judgment, conveys how traumatic homelessness can be through the personal experience of the narrator. I'm not obviously going to write a full response of the narrator. Yeah, there's my judgment statement. Notice that I'm being specific. I'm relating it back to the fact that there's this personal experience. And I'm not just saying negative impact, negative impact, negative impact. I'm using synonyms, yeah? I would then probably go on to quote the opening. I was homeless growing up. We ended up losing our home. I was 11 years old, and I'd probably draw attention to how blunt that declarative sentence is there, again emphasizing her youth. So you're going to do a few of those. Aim for sort of 4-ish, again, 15 marks, 15 minutes, 15 marks. And try and give yourself a little bit of a boom source moment at the end, you know, where you say ultimately the most compelling depiction of how awful homelessness is when. Okay, so have like a kind of roundup. Again, more details on my playlist. The idea is this is just a zoom through. So right, we've done our questions 4, 5 and 6, so we're going to move ourselves on. We've stuck with the parcours, so we have we have reviewed as we've been going, and now we get to the scary bits. So 7A and 7B, the two texts show personal experiences of poverty. What similar facts use evidence from both texts to support your answers? So now the most important thing to remember with this one, okay, one, you don't have to do it from memory. You can go back into the extracts and find the information that you need. The other thing to be aware of is that they want actual content-based similarities. So you saying they're both written in first person is not going to get you the right marks. You need to actually focus in on content. Okay, so you want to aim for sort of 3 or 4 of those, but again, there's no analysis, there's no real even explanation. It's just, here are the similarities, here are the quotes that back that up. So you should be able to do that one quite quickly before moving on to 7B. Now, it's really important that in 7A you do just focus on that content-based stuff, because in 7B you've got a lot more scope. Okay, now again, just like with the other question that we were looking at, question 3, if you look at these bullet points, don't be fooled into thinking I'm going to write a paragraph about ideas and perspectives, then about how they're presented, then about how they're similar and different. No, all of this should be within one paragraph. So your topic sentence should actually link the two texts together in terms of how the people in the extracts feel, or how the narrators feel. Then you're going to quote and then you're going to explain, so you're going to analyze those quotes. So it's a kind of a comparative analysis of both texts. When it's talking about comparisons, it is both similarities and differences. This is worth 14 marks. Okay, so again, you're going to be focusing on 14 minutes. Now the good news is obviously you've read these now a good few times over. You've written on them a good couple of times, so it should all be quite sort of fresh in your brain. Okay, by this point in the text, you're going to be exhausted, but you're going to keep on going, and you're just going to keep on reviewing. You're going to make sure that your topic sentences have an idea and perspective in, that you're quoting, and that you're analysing. And once you've done that and you've reviewed it, you're going to go, oh! But unfortunately, you're not going to stop, because you're going to turn over the pages and you're going to find section B, transactional writing. Okay, here you'll notice you have got a choice of 2 questions. It's worth 40 marks. You're given about 45 minutes, so that probably means 5 to 10 minutes of planning, a good 30 to 35 minutes of writing, giving you 5 minutes of check over time, unless you are reviewing as you go. Okay, now here we go. Write the text for a speech you will give to your peers, persuading them to volunteer with a charity. So you're going to think to yourself, right, speech, so that means that I'm going to use lots of direct address. I'm probably going to use quite a lot of rhetoric because they need to persuade. But the most important thing you're going to look at there is it is your peers, so you're addressing people of your age. So that means that you can use references that young people will understand better than adults. Remember that this is still an exam, so you're not going to be using like slang or or anything rude or anything like that. Okay, so here is one of your tasks. So if you just decide that you're going to do that, you're going to do a little brief bit of planning, and then you're going to look down here and you're going to go, hang on a minute, let's just check this. Write an article for a newspaper. So that's going to tell me something about my form and levels of formality. Ooh, the title, weird. Celebrate good things in life. What a strange title for a newspaper. What the good things in your life are, ways that you show you appreciate these good things. Okay, right. Again, be careful with bullet points. Again, you're not going to go, I'm going to write a paragraph for that and that and that, because let's be fair, when have you ever seen an article that looks like that? So you've got to make sure that if you go for the article, that you are trying to find a way to sort of like set it in a real context. There is a video coming your way that looks at that exact kind of concept, because they do have a tendency to give you topics that aren't very plausible for articles. Sorry, Edexcel. So always thinking about sitting it in some kind of context that makes sense for a newspaper article. But either way, whichever one you do, you're going to spend 5-10 minutes planning. You're going to think about all of your compelling devices that you're going to use, because whatever the format that you're given, you still need to think about creating a compelling argument, being engaging, whether it's a speech or an article. I would recommend that you do a bit of research and in your revision about how to structure and form these different text types. I've got some material coming your way. There's already one for letters, there's already one for persuasive features, and there will soon be some for articles, speeches and reviews, so do have a little look at that. You're obviously going to then go to here, you're going to decide which one. For me, I would do the speech 100%, so much, I think, easier to kind of nail the format. And then you're going to write your response here. Now, things to be aware of. Please, please, please don't forget to paragraph. If you're not sure where to change paragraph, just make sure you do somewhere. And if you're playing around with structural features, giving me the odd cheeky one sentence paragraph or a rhetorical question as a paragraph, then automatically you're doing it. Okay, so super important to make sure that you've got an interesting structure. If you're doing a speech, then you're going to use lovely discourse markers, firstly, secondly, thirdly, etc. But literally, right down to here, pause, check it through. Have I made any spelling mistakes? Do I have any naughty comma splices? Are my opening sentences bang on, accurate and engaging? Yeah, an examiner is going to want to see that this first part is polished. Okay, so then write another bit, then keep checking, keep reviewing as you go. And then in the last 5 minutes, do a final check through, and then for goodness sake, cheer when you get out of the exam hall and give your hands a break, because they will no doubt feel like claws by the time that you've finished writing. Okay, that's it from me. I'm sorry, I know I didn't go into any kind of specifics in terms of answers. I just wanted you to see exactly what the paper looks like, okay, so that you're prepared for the exam when it comes up. Like I said, if you want more details about any of these questions and you want to see some kind of models, you go and have a little look on my playlist, because I've broken it up: questions 1 to 3, questions 4 to 6, and then 7, 8 and 7b. Like I said, transactional writing videos are on their way to you. All right, that's it from me. Thank you so much.